At the beginning of the film, we see a man named Dalton Russell. He looks directly into the camera and addresses the viewer. Dalton tells us that he committed the perfect bank robbery on Wall Street. He simply walked out through the front door and was never caught. The only question that remains for everyone is, how did he pull it off? Dalton smiles mysteriously. He knows the answer, but he'll only reveal it at the end. Later, we're shown Dalton and his crew pulling up to the Manhattan Trust Bank. They're disguised as painters. A gray van with a painting company logo stops at the service entrance. 4 men in work overalls step out. They're carrying paint buckets and tools. Security doesn't pay them any attention. Just ordinary workers. Nothing suspicious. Dalton is the first to enter the bank. He quickly assesses the situation and disables the security cameras using a flashlight. His partners work in perfect sync. Within seconds, they manage to lock all the bank doors. They pull weapons from their bags and order everyone to get on the floor. Panic breaks out. Screaming. Crying. But the robbers have the situation under control. Outside, an officer notices smoke from smoke grenades coming from the building. He stops and approaches. Suddenly, Dalton appears at the door from inside. He tells the cop that he has hostages, many hostages, and he'll kill them one by one if the cops come any closer to the building. He deliberately speaks with an Arabic accent to confuse the officer. The cop backs off and immediately calls for backup. Within minutes, a swarm of police cars with flashing lights rushes toward the bank. The street is blocked off in both directions. At the same time, across town, the owner of Manhattan Trust Bank, Arthur Case, learns about the takeover. He's told which branch of his bank has fallen into the hands of criminals. This news makes Case extremely nervous. He's clearly worried about something more than just the money in the vault. The old man grabs his phone and calls a powerful fixer named Madeleine White. Madeleine White is a woman who solves delicate problems for the rich and powerful. She works in the shadows. No official titles, no business cards, just connections and capabilities. Case asks her to find a way to protect important family heirlooms stored in his personal safe deposit box at the bank. Madeleine listens and sets one condition. If Case decides to tell her what's inside the box but lies to her, their agreement will be immediately terminated. She doesn't tolerate lies. Case is silent for a few seconds. He doesn't lie, but he doesn't tell the truth either. He just wants the secret contents of the box to remain inside, at any cost. Next, we meet 2 more key players in this story, Detectives Keith Frazier and Bill Mitchell from the Hostage Negotiation Unit. Frazier is an experienced negotiator. He's handled dozens of similar operations. Mitchell is his loyal partner. Together, they make an excellent team. The detectives rush to the bank in a police car with lights flashing. They arrive on scene and enter one of the command vans. Captain Darius, who's controlling the situation outside, briefs them. The news isn't good. Nobody knows exactly how many suspects are inside the bank. The number of hostages is also unknown. Cameras are disabled. There's no communication with the robbers. Meanwhile, inside the bank, the robbers separate the hostages into 2 groups. Bank employees go into one group, customers into another. Dalton methodically goes around and orders everyone to hand over keys, cell phones, and any other communication devices. One bank employee says he left his phone at home. Dalton stares at him intently. He doesn't believe a single word. The robbers search this employee's office and find his phone in a desk drawer. Dalton returns to the man. Without a word, he brutally beats him right in front of the other hostages. This is a lesson for everyone. Don't lie. Don't resist. Don't try to be clever. After this demonstration, another man hurriedly hands Dalton his keys that he'd been trying to hide. Later, Dalton reshuffles the hostages again. He gives a strange order. Everyone must strip down to their underwear. Then they're given identical costumes and masks, exactly like the robbers themselves. Gray jumpsuits, black masks, white gloves. Within minutes, it's impossible to tell the criminals from the victims. Everyone looks exactly the same. Suddenly, an elderly man, one of the bank employees, starts feeling unwell. He clutches his chest and tells the robbers he has a serious heart condition. He needs medication. Dalton assesses the situation and makes a decision. He releases the old man. The robbers open the door and push him outside. Outside, police immediately grab the elderly man and start questioning him. The man thinks there are 4 criminals in the bank. He's not sure. Everyone was wearing masks. He also delivers a warning from the robbers. Police must not approach the bank building, otherwise there will be 2 dead bodies. Dalton isn't joking. Inside the bank, the group of robbers checks on the remaining hostages. They walk through the main hall, past the vault and safe deposit boxes. Finally, they stop in a storage room at the back of the vault. Dalton surveys the room and nods to his people. This is the place they need. This is where they'll work. After some time, we see the robbers breaking through the floor in the storage room. They're using jackhammers and other tools. The noise is deafening. Hostages in the main hall flinch with every blow. What are they doing? Digging an escape tunnel? Or is this part of some more complex plan? Outside, Captain Darius tells Frazier and Mitchell about the man the robbers released. He also tells the detectives he's waiting for security camera footage from the bank, footage from when the robbery started. Additionally, all phone calls from the bank have been redirected to the police command post. Now the ball is in Frazier's court. He must decide how to proceed, the detective thinks. He believes it's not yet time to call the robbers. He wants to see what their next move will be. Give them time. Watch how they behave. While they wait, Mitchell finds the robbers' van on a nearby street. Forensics dusts it for fingerprints, though the vehicle was probably stolen and the prints won't lead anywhere. When Frazier finally decides to call the bank, something unexpected happens. Dalton simply doesn't answer. The phone rings and rings, no response. The robber is playing with them, showing who's in control here. Security camera footage doesn't provide any information either. All cameras were disabled in the first seconds of the takeover. Meanwhile, Madeleine White visits the mayor of New York. She asks him for a very big favor. Madeleine says she's monitoring the bank situation for her client. She wants to go inside with the police to do her job. The mayor shakes his head. It's impossible. Too dangerous. Against all protocols. But Madeleine insists. She reminds the mayor of certain favors she's done for him in the past, of secrets she keeps. The mayor gets the hint. He reluctantly agrees to do her this favor. Madeleine gets special clearance to access the operation. Meanwhile, the robbers release another hostage. This time, there's a note attached to him for the police. The officers see it's a man of Eastern appearance. They mistake him for an Arab terrorist and treat him quite roughly. They throw him to the ground, put handcuffs on him, yell at him. Only then do they realize their mistake. Later, the detectives question this man at a nearby diner. His name is Vikram. He confirms that there are 4 criminals. He also reports that there are 20 to 30 hostages in the bank. Everyone is alive, for now. The robbers are treating them harshly. The cops read the demands sent with the note along with the hostage. The robbers want 2 buses with tinted windows and an airliner delivered by 9 o'clock in the evening. If police don't meet the demands on time, the robbers will start killing hostages. 1 every hour. Additionally, the bank is supposedly rigged with plastic explosives. Frazier studies the demands. He tells his colleagues that until they talk directly to the leader of the robbers, they get nothing. They need to establish contact, understand who they're dealing with, learn these people's real motives. Standard demands, the bus and a plane, sound too generic. Something's not right here. Suddenly, Arthur Case is brought into the command van. The bank owner wants to help. The cops are stunned when he says he could arrange a plane for the robbers. Personally, with his own money. This is a strange offer. Why would a bank owner help robbers escape? The cops realize he's hiding something. Case wants to stay and monitor the situation. But he's escorted out of the van. He's not a cop. He can't be in the command center. The old man leaves reluctantly. He's clearly worried, much more than an ordinary bank owner should be in this situation. Later, the robbers demand food for the hostages. This gives police an opportunity to send a listening device into the bank. They choose pizza, big boxes, lots of cheese. People will gather around the food and talk. A perfect opportunity to eavesdrop on the robbers' plans. The officer in charge of technical support suggests Frazier use a digital recorder disguised as a pen. The small device can record up to 30 minutes of material. It's placed in one of the pizza boxes. The order is sent to the bank. Meanwhile, inside the bank, one of the hostages is being defiant. He refuses to follow orders, tries to resist. The robbers decide to remind him who's in charge. They grab him and drag him through the rooms with hostages. Everyone sees what's happening. Then they take him to the storage room. A gunshot is heard from there. The hostages are terrified. The pizza order finally arrives at the bank. The robbers check the boxes but don't find the bug. It's too well hidden. Later, the police turn on the recording device and hear voices. But there's a problem. The robbers are speaking some foreign language. It sounds like Russian, but not quite. The detectives question the released hostages, ask if they heard anything in Russian while they were inside. Nobody is sure. Everyone was too scared to pay attention to such details. Inside the bank, the robbers move hostages from one room to another. They constantly mix people up, switch their positions. This is part of the plan. One of the robbers removes his mask and jumpsuit. He pretends to be a hostage and sits down with the others in the first room. Now, even the hostages themselves don't know who among them is real. The detectives, meanwhile, try to figure out what language the robbers are speaking. They find a cop with Russian roots. He listens to the recording and shakes his head. It's not Russian. Something similar, but definitely different. Maybe Ukrainian, Polish, Serbian. Frazier gets an idea. He decides to play the recording through a loudspeaker. Maybe someone in the crowd of onlookers on the street will recognize the language. New York is a city of immigrants. People from all over the world live here. A construction worker from the crowd comes closer and says it's Albanian. He recognizes it because that's where his ex-wife was born. The cops immediately call this woman and ask her to come. She agrees, but in exchange for helping police, she asks to have her parking tickets dismissed. Frazier rolls his eyes but agrees. The woman arrives and listens to the recording. She starts laughing. The cops are puzzled. "What's so funny?" the woman explains. It's the voice of the former communist president of Albania, Enver Hoxha, an old recording of his speech. The robbers just played it to confuse the police. The detectives realize they've been outplayed. The robbers figured out the bug plan and fed them a useless recording. Dalton is smarter than they thought. He anticipates their moves. This changes the game. A bit later, we see what's happening inside the bank. Dalton enters the vault where a young kid is sitting and playing a video game. The kid says Dalton is really cool because now he's rich. Later, with his partner, Dalton opens a specific safe deposit box. Not a random one, a specific one. The very one Arthur Case was worried about. Inside are the documents they were originally looking for. Also diamonds in small pouches and a box of jewelry. Dalton takes the documents and studies them carefully. This is what he came for. His partner looks at the diamonds and jewelry, a fortune. But Dalton shakes his head. Not yet. At this time, the mayor and Madeleine White arrive at the scene. Madeleine briefly explains why she's here. She represents the interests of one of the bank's clients. She needs to get inside and talk to the robbers. Frazier is categorically against it. He doesn't want to accept help from third parties. After all, this is a police operation. But Madeleine and the mayor use good old blackmail. They have information about Frazier, about his problems with the law, about suspicions of stealing money from evidence. The detective gets the hint.
Well, I had nothing to do with that.
After some time, Frazier decides to call the robbers again, and one of them finally picks up and talks to Frazier. The conversation is tense, but Dalton simply repeats his demands. Buses, a plane, otherwise hostages will start dying. Frazier tries to establish contact, but Dalton avoids real dialogue. The detective hangs up and analyzes the conversation. He's sure he's buying time for the team, but he doesn't yet understand that Dalton is playing his own game with him. The robber has no intention of going anywhere. He has a completely different plan. After a while, another call from Frazier. He offers Dalton more food. It's a way to maintain contact. But Dalton poses a riddle. Frazier's assistant gives the answer that they weigh the same.
This time send sandwiches.
Pretty good. This guy's nuts.
While the order is being prepared, the robbers inside the bank finish digging the hole in the storage room floor. A deep hole. This is the main part of their plan. But what is it for? In the evening, Frazier finds the right time for Madeleine to call the robbers. She picks up the phone and says something that convinces Dalton to meet her in person. Inside the bank, face to face. Madeleine enters the bank. The robbers search her, take her phone and purse. Then they lead her to Dalton. Madeleine doesn't waste time and gets straight to business. She offers him a deal, a short prison sentence, and $2 million after release, in exchange for the contents of a specific safe deposit box. That very box belonging to Arthur Case. Dalton listens carefully. Then he says he knows perfectly well who Madeleine works for. He knows who Arthur Case is. He knows his secret. Dalton tells the story of how Case collaborated with the Nazis during World War II when he worked at a bank in Switzerland. He helped them confiscate Jewish property. That's the money he built his empire on.
This could be very embarrassing to your employer.
He shows documents confirming the Nazi connection and refuses the deal. He says he'll keep the documents from the box as insurance, a guarantee that Madeleine and her boss will help him if he's ever arrested for the robbery. Madeleine leaves empty-handed. As she exits the bank, Madeleine tells Frazier her opinion, but doesn't share the details, which greatly annoys the detective.
Oh, please don't take this personally, but no, I don't think you can afford me.
Sometime later, Frazier decides to stop playing by the rules. After all, Dalton anticipates their every move. They need something new. The detective calls him and makes an offer. He'll give the robbers a plane if Dalton lets him enter the bank and personally check on the hostage's condition. He agrees, and the detective enters the bank without a weapon. He's searched and led to the room with hostages. The detective looks around. Everyone is alive and more or less healthy. He sees a little boy among the hostages and asks to release the child. Dalton shakes his head. No exceptions. When they approach the exit, Frazier suddenly grabs Dalton and tries to tear off his mask. He wants to see the robber's face, but he's stopped. Other robbers point their weapons at him. Dalton is angry. This is a violation of the agreement. He demands buses again, immediately. Frazier leaves the bank and returns to the command van. He tells Darius he's certain. Dalton is not a killer. They need to wait and see what he does next. A call comes through to the van. Dalton asks them to give a close-up of the second-floor window of the bank. On camera, Dalton raises a gun and shoots one of the hostages. The person falls. Blood. Frazier immediately runs to the bank entrance. Dalton says he's not following the plan, which means he's smart for not giving in to the robbers' demands, and asks them to send another detective. Frazier is immediately removed from the case. Captain Darius takes his place. Naturally, Darius plans to storm the bank building as soon as possible. No more negotiations, no more games. But inside the bank, the team could face a tactical nightmare. Hostages and robbers look identical. Everyone in matching costumes and masks. If they start shooting, innocent people will die. The only solution is to use rubber bullets. They won't kill, but will stop anyone. Frazier leaves to talk to a patrol officer, and the officer says words that guide him. And suddenly, right before the assault, Frazier makes an important discovery. He finds a transmitter in one of the boxes in the command van. The robbers had been listening to the police this whole time. They knew every plan, every move. Frazier immediately calls the captain to warn him, but Darius decides to proceed with the operation. It's too late to back down. The assault team is ready. They're going in. Dalton hears this through the transmitter and understands that time is up. The robbers throw smoke grenades and release all the hostages from the bank before the cops can get inside. Outside, chaos breaks out. A crowd of people in identical costumes and masks exits the bank. It's impossible to tell who's a hostage and who's a robber. Police start shooting at everyone. The tactical team enters the bank to clear it of robbers or find bodies. They check every room. The safe, the vault, the storage room. But they find nothing. The body of the killed hostage is nowhere to be found. And strangest of all, nothing is missing from the bank. All the money is in place. Furthermore, the police discovered that the robbers' weapons were toys. The guns fired blanks. The hostage killing was just a performance, a show for the cameras. Nobody died. Meanwhile, all the detained people are taken for questioning. But a serious problem arises. Nobody can determine who among them are hostages and who are robbers. Everyone looks the same. Everyone gives similar statements. The captain tells Frazier that the case is effectively closed. No victims, no stolen money, no crime. But Frazier isn't about to give up that easily. Something doesn't add up here. He can feel it. Later, the detective starts digging deeper. He finds information about a secret safe deposit box at the bank, the very one Arthur Case was worried about. Frazier starts piecing the facts together. He meets with Madeleine again and shows her his recordings. On them, She and the mayor are blackmailing him in the command van. Now, Frazier has leverage. He proposes a deal. In exchange for not making the recording public, he asks for information about Case's box. Madeleine realizes she's been caught. She gives Frazier a hint but asks him to forget about this case. Some secrets are better left buried. Some people are too powerful to mess with. Later, Madeleine meets with Case. She tells him that Frazier won't be a problem. But there's bad news. Dalton kept the documents from the box. He'll hold on to them as insurance. If Case tries to do anything against him, the documents will become public. Additionally, Madeleine knows that there were diamonds in the box along with the documents. Case nods and adds that there was something else. A Cartier ring that belonged to his Jewish friend, the very one he didn't save from the Nazis. Because the Nazis paid too well. A week passes after the robbery, and finally, we learn how Dalton managed to pull off the perfect crime. He hid inside the bank, behind a fake wall that his team built in the storage room. That's what they were digging the hole for and working on all that time. Dalton has the diamonds, the ring, and the documents with him. He spent a week in his hiding spot, with supplies of food and water, with patience. After a week, he emerged from his hideout. He changed into regular clothes and simply walked through the bank like an ordinary customer, past security, past cameras. Nobody stopped him. We see all his accomplices waiting on the street near the bank. They're free. None of them were caught. The perfect crime. At this moment, Frazier and Mitchell pull up to the bank. Frazier gets out of the car and runs into Dalton, who is just walking out the front door, exactly as he said earlier. Frazier enters the bank with a court order. He wants to open Case's safe deposit box. Inside, he finds 3 things: chewing gum, a Cartier ring, and a note. The note has just 3 words. Follow the ring. Frazier realizes the game continues. Dalton left him a clue. The detectives drive to Arthur Case. Frazier asks the old man about the box. He's already figured out that the contents are connected to something bad, to Case's past, to his dark secrets. Case tries to dodge the questions. He squirms and evades, but then Frazier pulls out the ring and shows it to the old man. He says that one day he will definitely learn the whole truth, learn what bad things Case is hiding, and then justice will prevail. Case turns pale. He realizes that his past has finally caught up with him. Later, Frazier shows up at a meeting between Madeleine and the mayor. He shows them the ring and gives Madeleine a phone number. It's the Office of War Crimes in Washington. She can call there and tell them about her client. In exchange, Frazier gives her the pen with the recording of their conversation. Deal complete. Frazier is satisfied. He managed to outplay the powerful fixer and the captain. He didn't get the robbers, but he got something else. Justice. In his own way. In the final shot of the film, we see Frazier at home. He takes off his jacket and hangs it on a chair. Something falls from his pocket to the floor. A small, shiny object. The detective bends down and picks it up. It's a diamond. A real diamond. Dalton slipped it to Frazier when they bumped into each other at the bank entrance. A gift. Or a thank you. Or just a reminder that sometimes criminals are smarter than the police. Frazier looks at the stone and smiles. He enjoyed this game. Despite being on opposite sides of the law, the detective and the criminal respect each other for their sharp minds, for their determination, for their ability to play the long game. Dalton pulled off the perfect robbery. He entered the bank through the front door and exited the same way. If you're not caught, you're not a thief. Or are you still a thief? That depends on your point of view.